Hey, this is Gretchen Menn with JamPlay.com, and in this lesson we're going to be looking at another use for tapping. So tapping does not need to be relegated to just high gain, overdriven shred guitar stuff. It's great for that, of course, but you can also use it for a texture with cleaner guitars. And in this piece we're going to be looking at Fading, which is from my first album. Tapping is used really in support of other melodic instruments, a violin, and then later in the piece, a vocal. Let's check it out. I'll show it to you first slowly, and then we'll work our way up in increments. So let's go through this slowly, and in doing so I'm also going to show you a little bit about how it's constructed. So what we really have is a series of overlapping triads, and the overlap and the context in which the triads are given create the harmony. So you're going to be outlining triads with either hand, and what's going to be happening for most of this example is that only one hand at a time will move. So you have this kind of overlapping harmonies that create other harmonies. So we'll look at those one at a time. Initially, we're going to be playing an A minor triad with our right hand. So A, G string, 14th fret, and then C, 13th fret of the B string, and E on the 12th fret of the E string. And that's going to be going over an E minor triad in the left hand. But all of that is being played over a C harmony. So what you really have here is like a C major 7 with an added 13. So you have, this is the third of C, this is the fifth, this is the major 7th, and then this is the 6th, this is the root, and that's the third. Just if you want to get geeky theory about it. Essentially, you can also look at it as that you just have overlapping harmonies that are C major with some other extensions for color. So the way you play that is we're going to be using all these three fingers, first, second, and ring, of our right hand. I should mention that this could technically be played with single finger tapping in the right hand, but the reason I don't is for a couple of reasons. One is that it can get kind of exhausting because you're always rushing to the next note, and using three fingers feels a lot more graceful. And there's also something about the two hands being a little bit more in sync in that way that makes everything kind of flow more naturally to me. Plus, it's a good opportunity to use three fingers of your right hand for tapping in a context that isn't extremely fast and demanding in that respect. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be tapping, pulling off, and then hammering on to the next note. So that's A, pull off to E, A, pull off to E, G, tap C, pull off, and then B, and then tap E. So you're basically just climbing up and going back down. So to me, the trickiest thing about this is really getting a good hammer on with your first finger on the E string. It's the thinnest string. Depending on how high of action you have, it's going to be the one that you're going to have to work the hardest to get to speak correctly, meaning to be in balance with the other notes. You don't want, at least in this case, sometimes you will, but in this case you want the notes to be a little bit more even. So you need to be careful not to overplay with your right hand, you need to be careful not to overplay on the thicker strings, and you need to really work to bring out those notes with your left hand on the high E string. So now the second part, we're going to have our left hand move down, but our right hand stays in exactly the same place. So now we're going to be playing basically this D minor triad with our left hand and still having this A minor triad with our right hand. And so that gives us more of a D minor 9 sound. So you've got your root, third, fifth, 7th, 9th. And that's going to be the exact same pattern that we did for the first one. So the way that sounds slowly is. So now continuing with that principle, our left hand now is going to stay in the same place and our right hand is going to move. And this time with our right hand, we're going to be tapping G, B, and E. So again, sort of an E minor arpeggio, or an E minor triad harmony over the same D minor. So we're getting now more of like a G13 sound. So we have from that the 5th, the 7th, the 9, the root, the 3rd, and the 13th right there. So the way that's going to sound is. But in this measure, rather than actually having that cycle repeat twice, I showed it to you twice so you can practice it, but rather than have that actually repeat twice, our right hand then does move. And I'll show you what it does here. It gives us more of like a G13 sharp 11. You don't have to know that, but just if you care. We're going to be staying in the same place with our left hand, but now we're going to be tapping with our right hand. So that's the B, the C sharp, the F, and C sharp. So the way that's going to sound. So now for the very last measure, what we're going to be doing is the same E minor triad with the left hand, and with the right hand we're going to be going C, D, G, E. So it's basically like a C add 9 with the right hand, and together what you have is a C major 9 because you have your 7th here in the left hand. So that's going to sound like. So work on each of those individually, then work on connecting them, and then we'll join up and check it out at 70% speed together with the backing track. Okay, so once you've done the work to get it at 70% speed, and honestly, I find this a little bit more difficult to play at the slower speed. It feels more like you're plodding along than kind of flowing. But still do that work. It's really important for clarity and articulation and consistency. We'll try it now at 80%. Okay, so at 90%, it starts to feel a little bit more like itself. 80% gets you almost there. Work your way up. We'll try 90% with the backing track. So your mission now is to take some of these ideas and incorporate them into something that you write. You could try coming up with different arpeggios with either hand and seeing how they overlap, seeing moving one, waiting to move the other. Experiment with that. Have fun with it. I find it really inspiring, and I hope you do too. See you in the next lesson.